commitment to this group of people here, and I know that you will, and a sense of fun.
Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnick here on the morning of the Ashes. We're going through the announcement of Alex Carey getting his cap from Adam Gilchrist, and it's been very much televised. The clapping going on. Yeah, so it's obviously a big moment for Alex Carey, being the keeper of Australia now. The actual weather looks overcast, but by no means is it going to stop today's play. So Adam Gilchrist has just come out of doing that hat ceremony to give the hat to Alex Carey as on debut as keeper. The actual overcast cloud is there's one blanket of white cloud. Pat Cummins looks like having a chat now. He's obviously the new captain of Australia. It's all happening. And James Weldon is saying hi from Ireland, which is great to see. The Cricket King is here. Can't wait for the Ashes. Mini Mac. So James Weldon here from the reality is that we've got a very exciting Test series coming up. Look, the Ashes is like no other. I know we talk highly about the series between obviously India and England of late, and Australia and India, and even the series between India and Pakistan. There's some great series that take place between those countries, but the Ashes has got the history, got the so-called urn there. It is by far, the most historical bit of, memorabilia, if you want to call it that, or actual history. And it's very, very significant indeed. And here we are, 5 Test matches, also a situation of 25 days of cricket. Let's hope there's 25 days of cricket. We have a situation where, we have weather permitting two teams, which will be hard. And it'll be ebbs and flows. It will not be all one way. It'll be very much a situation where Australia will probably have a great chance of winning this Test match. So they win the toss and they bat. They'll probably win and win well. But then they've got Adelaide, a day-nighter, which will suit England down to the ground. With I'm expecting James Anderson and of course, Stuart Broad and I like to come into play heavily, and will give Australia a nice old touch-up, I think. And it'll be a 1-all state of play, followed by a third Test match, which of course will be in Melbourne, and that will probably go the way of England again as well. The conditions will be very much England's conditions, overcast, suiting the play altogether. And then you'll have the 4th Test in Sydney, where I think Australia will arrest that situation, perhaps with Nathan Lyon bowling well, let's hope. And it'll make it a 2-all series with a 5th Test now not in Perth, which would have been dead set Australia's favour. It would have been Australia's favourite big time, but it's in fact not in Perth. It'll be either in, I'm thinking Hobart, which will suit England down the ground. It could well be in Sydney or Melbourne if they put enough money for it. Canberra unlikely, and Manitoba being the 4th choice. So let's hope the cricket is great. I agree. The match at this point in time, there's been no discussion about anything. Teams not starting on time. Bit of news from the ground. England will be wearing black armbands today in the memory of former England women's cricketer Eileen Ash. That's one thing that we got a report. Who sadly passed away earlier this week, aged 110. What a performance that is! It's amazing. She was the world's oldest Test cricketer, making her debut in 1937. Of course, Don Bradman made his debut in 1928, but he's well, unfortunately not here. And the first look at the GABBA deck tells us, Mike Hussey, he calls it beautiful. Before night, he gets thick and even coverage of grass, which should allow for a lot of movement, a lot of advantage. You've got Adam Gilchrist, Mike Hussey, and Alan Border heading up the Fox Studios crew. That's probably the best. I think it outdoes 7. And those 3 gentlemen all played for Australia. Alan Border was captain, of course, and he clearly there's a statue named after him, or actually in honour of him, that's there as well. So that's amazing news to see. It's going to be one of those mornings that give Nasser Hussain a headache, isn't it? Well, I'm not sure what the story is there. Broad is doubtless already en route here. So if England do go in without either their veteran quicks, by the way, it'll be interesting what happens. I think they will go in with Broad. Broad. So we're just looking at Cummins. He's 28 years of age. He's played 34 matches for Australia, 164 wickets, an average of 21. He's out there practicing now with Harris and and he's looking quite, some nice little white socks on. Mark Harris has got black socks on, so there's no consistency there. We're seeing umpires in the middle of the ground looks as green as, it looks about as typical a Brisbane GABBA wicket as I've ever seen. It's extremely green. It's extremely green. You would say that similar to an English wicket. Well, no, I'm afraid not. It's more similar to what the GABBA always pulls up, which is amazing amounts of bounce and even movement and a bit of swing early on. It's very much a bowler's paradise. And when it settles down, the batsman get a fair go. But no, it's going to be bowling for sure. Untitled Chapter says Stokes will score 100. Well, I think he's capable of that for sure. What time is the toss, Norman? James Walton just asked. Well, it's 10 past 10 here in Sydney. It's actually 10 past 9 in Brisbane. The toss should be 9:30, so 20 minutes away. Include India in Ashes, please. Actually, I don't think it's possible to do that. So literally, it's a series between two countries about the burning of bales, which became the urn. It would be not proper for India to be a part of it because it's just not a part of their series. That's fine. I'm seeing Pat Cummins doing a little warming up. I think he's acting as normal as he possibly can. I don't think he's necessarily doing anything different. Joe will score a duck and Josh will get him. That may well be the case. Look at Kath Lonergan as the Fox cricket woman who's talking the front up here now. Stuart Broad looks relaxed. He's got a black armbag. He's got a blue shirt on. Is there a hint that he's not playing? He's not in whites. Okay, so the report is that Stuart Broad is actually out of the first test. That's just the news coming through. Breaking news. Stuart Broad is out of the first test. So not only is James Anderson out of the first test, Stuart Broad is out of the first test. They're holding these two guys up back, I would imagine, for another later stage. I'm pretty sure that they'll have Broad and Anderson playing in the later test matches. They've decided they want the speed of Wood, Ollie Robinson, Wokes in the side, and that may actually mean that we might have Leach playing. So wait and see. So breaking news. I'm just going to report that on my breaking news. Broad. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know whether the loss of Broad ruled out of the first test. That's rather unfortunate. I would have liked to see Broad. So he joins. No, I did appear that by, as I described, he was wearing a green shirt. I wasn't wearing. We were wearing a band over the shirt. It was kind of that's the way he was going to dress for the day. So he joins Anderson on the sidelines. Now, I think that there's that fear factor of Broad. I think they made a little bit of it. Well, what to say? Because if they expect to win this match, that is Australia, well, they're certainly going to even expect it even more now. So, breaking news: Broad ruled out of the first test, joins Anderson on the sidelines. Okay, that's what the latest preview certainly is. So Broad is out. Is out of the first test. So there we go. All right. That's some pretty substantial news if you ask me. Would you agree, guys? I think it is. It's going to be. So Bairstow is also not playing. So the team 11, they picked 12 yesterday, was Hamid, Rory Burns opening with Milan at first drop, Root second. Then you have at third drop, you have Pope. So another 5, Pope 6. Let's say it'll be Pope or Ben Stokes 6. So 7, Butler. Then you get into the bowlers now. If they haven't got Broad, they're going to have Wood, Robinson, and Wokes. 8, 9, 10, and they're probably going to bring in Leach if that's the case. So this is Joe Root. Joe Root's looks like he's very relaxed, looking very fit. Well, there you go. There's certainly some. So again, let's go through the sides. Hamid with Rory Burns. Then you'll have Milan at 3, 4 Root, 5. Let's say Stokes, 6 Pope, 7 Butler, 8 Robinson, 9 perhaps. Let's just say Wood or Wokes, probably go Wokes, and then Wood at 10 and 11 will be Leach. So interesting indeed. Should they have gone for Overton as opposed to Leach and therefore ahead of Broad? That would have been the other question. I would have had to add some more batting starch to the team. So yeah, I'm not exactly. I don't know. I don't necessarily think this is the best of sides I've ever seen. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Damn. Let's have a look here. So, I mean, we've still got another 15 minutes from the so-called toss. Everything goes to plan. I'm assuming that will happen that way. So I find that a weak team too, James. I think that the Broad Anderson factor not being there will mentally be in Australia's favour. And look, Australia are expecting to win this test, and they're probably there for the long haul with Broad Anderson, hoping to bring those two guys in at a later stage when perhaps they'll be a little bit more fresher. But you need him for the first test, don't you? But maybe Australia feel that they will be let go. Robinson's bowled well too, a la Broad. Then you've got Wokes, who can bowl pretty well, but then you've got Leach straight to the attack, and Stokes. So we're going to rely more heavily on Stokes than we first thought. He'll be one of the 5 bowlers then. So you've got 8, 9, 10, 11. You've got one of the 5 bowlers. Wood, Wokes, Robinson, and Leach, with Stokes as 5. Yeah. In terms of real Australian condition experience, Stokes is one certainly who's put at least one on the team. Yeah, Broad or Anderson. I thought Broad would have been the one to go in, considering Anderson is actually injured. And Broad, we know, has had the measure of Warner. Now, if he's not there, it'd be interesting to see whether those guys can counter. It's probably because Warner a mental strength that he was probably looking for. So that's what's very interesting here indeed, is the mental strength of this particular decision for Australia. And even Harris. I would have had Broad outside the cricket king. I think you're right. Ankush out of I'm from India. Good on you. Well, I'm glad you're watching. You must be up pretty early, because in India it's what, 3:47 in the morning, isn't it? No, it's actually 10:30 will be 5. So yeah, 4:47 in the morning now. That's early. But I must say I'm used to doing that. So I'm not begrudge that at all for you. Yeah, we're going to wait and see what happens here. So that's some early reports there on the team. The Australian team has been announced, and the 11's pretty straightforward. The team will be Dave Warner with Marcus Harris. First drop, Labuschagne. Second drop, as in position 4, will be Steve Smith. 5 will be Travis Head, who should have been Kawaja, but that's another thing. So Travis Head's 5. 6 will be Cameron Green. 7 will be Alex Carey. And they're fairly weak there in terms of experience, certainly. And then 8 will be Cummins, who's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. 9 will be the likes of a Stark. 10 Hazelwood. Lyon at 11, or they may swap their batting order around. Also, I would argue somewhat of a weak side. So I'm not exactly impressed with either of those two teams, really. But it's an Ashes series that will still be full of venom. Although the Broad-Anderson relationship certainly meant, I think, more than we're giving credit to. I think that's a real pity that we haven't got those teams. So, yeah, we've just seen Alex Carey talking to Gilchrist. Alex Carey looks particularly nervous. He's playing for Australia. I would have preferred Josh English. I would have preferred Kawaja. Let's see how those guys go. Alex Carey putting on his cap for the first time to be keeper for Australia. It's a big moment for him. Love from India. Thank you, Achal Kumar. Yeah, Border Anderson. I think Cricket King's got it right. Those two. Now we've got Isagula with Shane Warne and very much not like Mark Orr. Mark Orr comes along quietly, pleasantly, but he's quite difficult. Whereas his brother Steve's absolutely magnificent. So, the chalk and cheese there and a brotherhood there. So we'll just go on from Hussey, Border, and Gilchrist on the field. Back to the dressing room, so you've got Shane Warne with Mark Orr and Isagula. So a lot of pressure, a lot of discussion with Alex Carey. Takes a bit of pressure off Cummins for the moment. Carey as a keeper, Norman. No. Okay, Alex Carey is a very stylish batter. He's a very sound keeper. There's nothing wrong with his keeping. His first class record has got 30. He's actually 30 years of age, not young. He's played 45 matches. He's got 2,400 runs, 5 centuries. He can certainly bat very stylishly. He's not really a big hitter. He's keeping sound, but Josh English seems to have a bit more of an explosion going on in his performance. Alex Carey has been seen as the debutant for some time now, and especially in shorter format, he's played a few games in shorter format. He's certainly sound. He's very admirable, very even a captaincy material potentially, but he hasn't got that panache. He hasn't got that aggressiveness of an Australian player that I think he lacks. Maybe he's a little bit like Team Payne in a way. Don't think he's that explosive with his talking. Matthew Wade certainly was. But Josh English seems to have that sort of nuggety feeling. He's very well liked by a lot of people. So let's see. But Australia, traditionally, when they take on a keeper, they take him on for a long haul. So Alex Carey will definitely be keeping for a series. He won't necessarily be dropped. And then he'll be in for, you would imagine, for a good period of time. Philip Neville was another one that played for quite a while, but he was also dropped. His batting was what let him down a little bit, but so that was the only issue there.
How are you? Guten Morgen.
Good morning. Well, you're not in Germany, you're in Philippines, but we're in Australia here. I think, or the GABBA at least. The pitch looks greener than the outfield.
You can see it's morning, just the sunrise happening over here.
What time is it there?
It's 7:25, 20:25 in the morning.
It's 10:22 here, and it's about 9:22 in Brisbane. The ground, if you look at it, if you can see it, it is green as. And you've got the cup, though. I can see, nice one. I was with a party, so she had a nice new jacket and shirt she has too. The ground looks particularly green. And did you hear that Stuart Broad is ruled out? Well, not ruled out. He's just not being picked. And he goes with Anderson. So the bowling attack of England will be Wood and Robinson with Wokes. And then you'll have Leach in that top 4 with Ben Stokes, the 5th bowler.
So they are taking Ben Stokes as a pure bowler, or considering him as.
He is. They got the luxury of not. But I think they needed to have an Anderson or a Broad in this game. They needed one of the two. Because Broad has a real thing over Warner. And having him not the side will put a big lift to Australia. I think it always tells me Australia's going to win. As long as they bat first, I think Australia's going to win this. But England will come back in the second test. That's my initial thoughts.
What's the weather condition, by the way?
Well, there's no rain. There's a clear blanket of white cloud, very high level white cloud, but it's blanketing the whole sky. No rain at all. Looks like we're going to get a game that starts on time, and with the chance of rain around 3-4 o'clock in the day's play, which is very typical of a GABBA pitch.
Like in England, when they say, there are clouds, the ball swings more. Is it something similar in Australia?
Yeah, certainly. And there's humidity at play as well in Brisbane. It's very subtropical. So it'll swing and move and bounce and have pace on it. So you would normally think it's better to bowl first, but if the batters can get through the first hour to 2 hours play, then it settles down and becomes quite a good batting wicket with the ball coming onto the bat. So that's the key. If you can bat first and get through the first hour or two of play, then you can go for a big 400 score. And that's traditionally what happens at the GABBA. You don't want to bat second, even though, the bowling will be very hard to play. If England, Stokes test crew, he's played 71 matches, 4,006.
But Norman, does this mean that the pitch?
Ben Stokes is 71 matches, 400,611 runs, 163 wickets. What a record! That's a great record. Go on, sorry.
No, I was saying, does this mean that the pitch gets difficult to bat on? Like when India played, I did not feel that the pitch was getting difficult to bat on. Or is it just the reason you want to bat first is the scoreboard pressure? That's question one. Question two, for this particular today's match, what we knew that it rained yesterday. So how will that rain affect the pitch and the
drainage in Australia is remarkable. Any rain yesterday, it's dry. I shouldn't say it's totally dry, but it's very much close to dry. The ground is very green. It's a very solid surface. That means it'll take pace and bounce. There'll be a lot of movement, a lot of swing. But if you can survive that first hour to 2 hours, then it settles down. And with a bit of, not so much only sun, but a bit of humidity, which tends to help both ways, you will see a situation where you can bat. And because the ball absolutely flies off the bat, and it's a relatively true bounce. So you can chance your shots. That means you can play through the line of the ball, and and Australians who like that ball coming up, and they can play like a back foot drive, like see Wall and Ponting loved it when the ball was up. They smash it left to right and drive on the up. Yeah, so it actually suits Australian batters, to be honest with you. But you've got to get through that first hour or so.
The England batting lineup, other than Root and maybe Stokes, then looks very fragile given these conditions.
Well, I think Pope should have been. I actually think Bairstow should have been selected over Pope. That's my thoughts. Butler will like these conditions as well. He's also good. Rory Burns and Hamid, a bit of a question mark on these conditions, but Dawood Malan likes Australia. Zach Crawley, who's not on the side, likes Australia. So those batters will probably do quite well here. So that's my thoughts at this stage. I think you're going to have Australia win the toss and bat, but that's a traditional good captain would do that. Now, I'm a little bit concerned because this is Pat Cummins, and he will be a little bit headless. He will be definitely nervous, and he will definitely have issues. He's sorry.
He want to bowl.
He will be turning around going, "What the hell do I do next, Steve?" I'm sorry. That's what he is way out of his depth.
There is Langer also. Norman, why are you thinking he will point towards Steve? Definitely Langer will help him also.
Yeah, but that's not the point. A team who has a captain in that position should go straight to the captain, not straight to the vice captain. Because then why is he vice captain? So it's a very disjointed outfit. Because then what happens is, if Pat Cummins diverts to Steve Small almost immediately, when it comes to a decision down the track, he won't have the confidence to make that decision himself. He will, in fact, be lost. He'll try and maybe after, let's just say, Australia are in the field, right? Pat Cummins will want to bowl. He'll be saying very quickly, "Steve, you set the field." And that'll develop, and Steve Smith will set the tone of the team. Later on, Pat Cummins will try and assert his authority, and will find it difficult. Because if you're a player, Baran,
James has commented Australia win the toss.
Yep, is that what you just saw?
That's what I saw. James Weldon has commented in the comments. Aussies win the toss.
Yeah, let's have a look here. And the batting.
So that's good news for the Australians.
Well, it hasn't actually said that at this point, but
But so the match is starting at 11 a.m. Local time. Is that correct?
yep. Well, no, 10 o'clock local time. It's
Okay.
11 o'clock here in Sydney.
Okay.
The announcement of the team has of the toss hasn't been made. James Walton says Aussie win the toss. I don't think they've done that yet. Now, I totally agree, King. I think that hasn't happened yet. So that James Walton's jumping the gun there a little bit. There's no evidence of any toss being made yet that I'm saying.
But toss should be next 2-3 minutes, right? If they're going to start at 10.
Yeah, it'll be in a matter of a minute or so.
So James is trying to pull a fast one on us.
Well, no, there's no confirmation at this point of the toss. It should be not very far away, though. They're comparing Alex Carey to Gilchrist. I'm sorry.
Coming back to the point that you were making, see, my point is, Roman, see, somebody has to be a vice captain, right? See, you had to put somebody as a vice captain.
Yeah, but a vice captain is not seen so much. Look, if you're captain of the team, you make decisions, right? From the start, you rally the forces, you take control. You don't sit there and go, what do you reckon, Steve? Okay, Steve, you make the decision. And when you start doing that, the team dynamic starts to shift towards the vice captain. And that's not going to, and then Pat later will try and assert his captaincy, and there'll be a bit of inconsistency or a bit of doubt because the team, I just heard Steve Smith for the last hour say bowl outside off stump, and then all of a sudden Cummins says bowl on the stumps. I'm just saying that sort of decision-making process is where the danger is. Okay.
Yeah, but let Pat at least step on the field. Norman, why are you already making conclusions just based on an interview? Let him at least step on the field.
Here we are. The toss is happening right in front of our eyes. Alan Gilchrist is there. David Boone is there. Let's have a look. So Pat Cost is throwing the coin. Pat Cummins is throwing the coin.
Jade won the toss, elected to bat. How much consideration about the...
So Joe Root has won the toss and he has elected to bat.
Yeah, obviously gave a good amount.
So that was a good toss for England to win. So England have won the toss and have elected to bat.
Every toss is good to win, Norman. When is a toss good to lose? Yeah, there are certain cases.
That's true. That's true.
Most of the time, every toss is good to win. Especially if it's a T20 World Cup and played in UAE. No, so
Yeah,
coming, I'm saying let Pat at least step on the field and then see. In fact, this losing the toss is good for Pat. So he does not have to make that first decision and he will be going
I think he would have liked to have batted first. I'll tell you now.
Okay, but now that he's bowling is his department, right?
Well, if England get a good score, they're going to change the complexity of the start of this match.
But basically, the GABBA field dynamics, like people bat first, is basically just for the scoreboard pressure. Because I don't think the pitch, at least from the last India match, I saw that the pitch has any demons in it.
Okay. So what are you saying? Get to your point. What are you saying?
No, what I'm saying is, like the team that bat first puts up a big score, let's say 400, 500. So that scoreboard pressure is what causes the damage to the team batting second. It's not
absolutely. And on Australian pitches, you bat first. That's the general rule. Okay. And Joe Root has taken that literally, and he's made that decision, and that's a very, very good decision. The Australian bowling attack, we know is good. If Stark's on song, Stark will get early wickets, right? But if he's not, and England survive the first hour or so, then England could potentially put on a big score. And that's the danger that Australia face now. But we're gonna be testing Pat Cummins very, very early on with his captaincy. He hasn't got the luxury of just sitting back and watch the batters bat and have time to get into the game. He's on deck immediately. He needs to put a stamp of approval immediately on, and he better have his fielding positions well. And if he's bowling, it's a interesting. There's I think the pressure levels have gone up a bit for team loves Pato. I guess seems that this was very long. Yeah, so England to bat after winning toss.
So the early birds joining us.
So Rory Burns and Hasib Hamid will open with Milan at 3, Root at 4, Stokes at 5, Ollie Pope at 6, Butler 7. That's a reasonably okay batting line.
What do you predict, Norman, after the first 15 overs?
Well, the first hour you're saying of play.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the Australian bowling lineup, to be honest, because if they don't get early success in the Pat Cummins, they will be unhappy. I'm predicting no wicket loss, and they'll be 20 or 30.
I predict 2 or 3 down.
All right, well, let's see about that.
And for like 20, 30 runs.
Yeah, I think that'll be what Australia would dream of. So the batting line of Australia: Warner, Harris, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Carey, Cummins, Stark, Lyon, and Hazelwood, with Khawaja, Swepson, and Nessa. The actual so-called 12th man is Jai Richardson, with Khawaja, Swepson, and Michael Nessa, and was 15. So there you go. There it is. There's your decision-making process. This is going to be interesting. I think we're in for a relatively. It's just I don't know whether you. I mean, most series are probably going to say the same thing, but in particular in an Ashes series, the early part of the first test is critical to set the tone. Now, see, here we are. They're interviewing Steve Smith before the game, not Pat Cummins. Interesting.
Tom, one general question: like when this Ashes series happened, how is the general life of Australians or like family life? What changes do happen over there? Like from the day to day, how is it when Ashes happen? Like everything is still normal, or it's just like people are talking more about it, or is there?
Well, the men are certainly watching it. Okay, that's for sure. The men are certainly watching it. They're out there watching it on a TV set or now on iPads and iPhones while they're in the office, especially the early stages of the match. Usually the first session. I mean, I remember being, and this is one of the rare times I'm not at the GABBA because of COVID. I can only go there after the test, which I'm not going to worry about. It's a beautiful start to the day. The crowd is very, very, well, what's the word for it? Small at this early stage. There's no mention of any later start. So look at the Australian batting lineup. Dave Warner's 87 test matches. Marcus Harris 11 and Marnus Labuschagne only 19. They're not overly experienced other than Warner. And obviously then comes in Smith. But that's not relevant at the moment. They're not batting first.
What about Khawaja is not in the game? He's in the game.
No, Travis Head is.
Oh, okay.
Steve Smith has played 78 test matches. Travis Head's actually played 20 test matches. Cameron Green 5 and Alex Carey none. So five of the top 7 have played 20 or less test matches. It's only Smith and Warner that have had substantial test careers.
Cameron Green is like a pure batsman, right? Or he's a
he's an all-rounder.
Okay.
He's very much, well, he's been compared to Shane Watson a little bit, but he's played 5 test matches. In fact, he didn't take a wicket at this point. Pat Cummins has played 35 tests. Mitchell Stark's played 62. Nathan Lyon 101 and Hazelwood 56. So their bowling lineup is far more experienced. And Pat Cummins is the least experienced out of the 4 bowlers in terms of test matches. Yet he's captain. Interesting, don't you think?
Very interesting. I think
Mitchell Stark's.
The reason Pat Cummins is the captain is because he's just a poster boy. Norman, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. And I think you're right because I don't really see any true reason why he's captain because he hasn't captained at any level of his cricket. He's played a little bit more recently for the state in shorter formats, but he hasn't had.
But that really shows, Norman, that cricket plays has such a big part in the culture of the Australian culture that they want to make sure that who they are portraying as a a leader of that team, is a role model, not just in the game, forget in the game, but even in the ancillary life. And that's exactly what I see even happened with Tim Payne, why he had to step down from captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Smith the same. The whole Sandpaper Gate was his responsibility, no one else's, even though Warner was the main instigator. Yeah, so it's interesting. Now, I'm seeing that there's 21 minutes to play starting, and they're still they're not in their whites. So having a quick look at the England side now, Rory Burns and Hasib Hamid are opening. Rory Burns has played 30 tests. Hamid's played 7. And Darwood Milan's played 18. So there's not a lot of experience there either. Rory Burns probably having more. Darwood Milan is a very good choice. He loves Australia and has played well in Australia. So I would say that's a good first dropper. Okay. Zach Crawley, unfortunately, is not there. And he loves it, would be very good in Australian conditions, but he's not on the team. Joe Root has played 110 test matches, clearly experienced. Ben Stokes has played 72, also experienced. Ollie Pope, surprisingly, has played 21 test matches. I didn't think he played that many. And Butler's played 54. But Ollie Pope for 2021, to me, he hasn't done anything yet so far. He hasn't it hasn't shown me why he's in there. So I'm not convinced with Ollie Pope. We'll see how he goes. They're saying he's like an Ian Bell, but I haven't got that much convinced. Then we look at the bowlers. Chris Wokes, very experienced. He's played 40 matches. In fact, he's the most experienced in the bowling lineup other than Ben Stokes. Ollie Robinson's only played 6. Mark Woods played 22 and Leach has played 17. That's a very inexperienced bowling lineup, really. With Wokes being the most experienced. Well, they're probably going to open, I don't know, would they open with Chris Wokes and Ollie Robinson? They probably are. They're going to hold Mark Wood to come on first change. A bit like what they did with Stark. And then they've got Stokes as well ahead of Leach.
Who do you think Pat Cummins will open the first over? Or it will be Josh Hazelwood?
No. It'll be Hazelwood and Stark that'll open.
That's interesting.
And then you'll have Cummins coming shortly after that with Cameron Green's also there as well and Lyon. So the similarities, the two bowling lineups are somewhat similar in structure. A spinner, an all-rounder, and then 3 paces. 2 fast and 1, you would argue, medium. Chris Wokes is more medium fast.
And also maybe more experience in the bowling, less so in the batting. That also looks very evident in both the sides.
So realistically, this side that Australia's got, they're going to be tested now. They're going to be bowling first. Stark needs to get early wickets. And Hazelwood and Cummins need to get early wickets to show their wear. But I think this toss has been pretty vital for England. England have got a really good chance of giving a good shake as long as they bat well. If they score 300-400 plus, then Australia are on the back foot, big time. But it would have been better to have Stuart Broad there to bowl to Warner or Anderson, because those guys notoriously are taking wickets, aren't they? It's very interesting not to see one, but see, England are thinking the long haul.
The decision to drop Anderson was more of saying that this track is not suitable to him in terms of swing and that, and they want to manage his workload.
No, I think if they,
do you think that is the exact reason, or that's something else?
Well, Ollie Robinson's been bowling very well. Chris Wokes has been bowling very well, and Mark Wood's got that out-and-out pace. So they had to work out what they were going to do. The question was more around whether to have Leach or Broad. That would have been the decision. And they've decided to keep Leach in the side. Realistically, I don't think Leach or even Nathan Lyon doesn't mind the GABBA because he gets a bit of bounce. Okay? But I would have been quite happy if Leach didn't play, because Joe Root could have taken up that spinning option himself, because he's proven to be okay. So at the moment, Australia are $1.82 to win. England $5, which means that's typical Australia. We're betting heavily on Australia winning, but I don't think it's that heavy. the top run scorer they're saying is Smith over Labuschagne. Now that Smith and Warner are significant and Labuschagne are significant, but they are batting in the second innings of the day. I think that
of the day. So you're trying to say England will be all out within the day?
No, that's a faux pas. If they are, then Australia are on top. There's no doubt about that. But I would argue that England, if they can survive the first hour to 2 hours without losing many wickets, then they're in a great position. Joe Root's history of playing in Australia has not been good. But yeah, I'm actually going to go out to the SCG over the next few days and get a bit of a feel of cricket grounds while I'm here. This was at home today, but I mean, we had a fantastic episode last night. David Graveney's probably still asleep, but we had almost 6,000 people watch last night. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I saw part of the show last night. Then I also dozed off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chris Vernon, you watched. Sorry?
No, I'm saying, is the final fifth test decided, the location?
Location-wise, one thing for certain, it's not in Perth.
Okay.
It'll probably be in, well, at this stage, Hobart's the front runner because it didn't have a test for the Afghanistan match. And in all fairness, they probably deserve it. But if it's money and they're putting so-called bids in, it's an actual bid. It's not just a selection. That means if there's a bid, there's money involved.
Bid means what? The stadium bids to the Australian cricket that I'll pay you so much to hold a match at my place.
Yes.
That's
which is intriguing, which is very, very intriguing because it means money may come into question. And if money comes into question, Melbourne would come into place and Sydney, because Sydney wants to have a date nighter.
This is happening only for this last match, or it happened for all the four? Or those
no,
four
it's just general, no. Mostly the matches are set by a committee, not by a bid. But because it was changed because of COVID, it's a matter. I mean, in all fairness, the grounds have to be ready because Melbourne and Sydney will have already had test matches. Are they capable of holding another test match? Is the question physically, and whether they want it too, because they obviously will. They obviously will want it, but you have to be fair. You have to make it a bid process because opening it up to other candidates, which will be Hobart. Canberra may have put a request in too, but Canberra won't get it. Hobart emotionally will probably get it, but if they don't...
Where is Hobart actually, by the way? I'm not...
Tasmania.
Oh, okay.
So Australia is up here, and Tasmania is a separate island below Australia. It is Australia.
That's where Tim Payne is from.
Sorry?
That's where Tim Payne is from, right?
Yep. That's where David Byrne was from. That is where Ricky Ponting was from. Although Ricky Ponting does not live in Tasmania now. When he gets a bit of money, they go up to. They all move up to places like Melbourne and Sydney. I'm not sure about Tim Payne. I think he lives back in Tassie, but it's an intriguing place. I'll tell you that much.
Nah, I've never been to Tasmania. I've been to Australia many times, but never been to Tasmania. Okay, Norman, I'll make a move. Need to
wake up.
Daily duties.
All right,
catch you maybe later in the day.
Thanks, bro.
Sure, Norman. Take care.
Yeah, I'll have a post-review match for sure.
Sure.
But of the day at least.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, so we're only some 12 minutes from the start of play, and Australia will be in the field. England will be batting. Hamid and Rory Burns with Milan at 3 will be ready to go. And probably Brute will have his pads on as well at 4. So Pat Cummins is talking on Fox Sport. He's narrated his own thing, which he actually was able to. He was able to put on his own video channel yesterday. Steve Waugh, look back at Steve Waugh and his capability. Amazing captain that he was. Obviously going back to Don Bradman being another great captain. Cummins was a young boy playing for Penrith and eventually played for Australia some 10 years ago. Then went out with injuries for a while. I think his first series was down in South Africa, I remember. Bowled very well, took a bag of wickets, but then injured stress fractured his back. And that basically saw him out for quite a prolonged period of time. There was some doubt that he'd come back at all. And he's not only come back, he's also come back and he's become captain. So it's quite an impressive situation. And the days of Gilchrist are showing. And then the bowling on it with Cummins, Hazelwood, Lyon and Stark have been around for a while now. With a fifth bowling option now, Cameron Green. Yeah, similar bowling attacks, you would argue, somewhat similar. Although Broad Anderson factor is not there, that's rather disappointing. So that's a little bit of an underdone situation for sure. We'll wait and see what happens there. Will they miss Broad today? I think they will. They'll definitely miss Broad. Broad's position in the team is vital. Nathan Lyon had a pretty ordinary series against India. Mitchell Starks had a pretty ordinary World Cup. Hazelwood's been particularly, he rose at the level of IPL and then onto the World Cup. He bowled pretty well. Cummins did okay, and he's had a good period. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys go. If England's openers can handle the position of opener against Australian bowling attack early on this pitch, we could well see England going on top. I wonder how much the pressure of captaincy will affect Pat Cummins' bowling. And at that point, Steve Smith will be virtually captaining the side, which is not. You watch Warner start to perk away as well. Very, very interesting indeed. Let's have a look what's happening. We'll certainly have a wrap up after the match. Straight after the match, I'll be on air, which will be interesting. Yeah, there's certainly an overcast feel about the day. Very gloomy, yet not raining, which is great. Starts on time. T20 game playing. England cricket Oaks lead, no changing. We'll see about that. They've got a glass replica of the urn, which is the trophy, a glass trophy, or like a piece of glassware. We used to call it silverware, but it's glassware. And the urn is a smaller version, so big. Well, the ground's clear. We've got 9 minutes before the match is officially meant to start. The ground's totally clear of only a couple of security guys. They'll come on and have national anthems, I'm pretty sure. And then the match will start shortly after with England batting and Australia bowling. The crowd is certainly not packed. It's certainly not full. There's plenty of spare seats. Although the top levels got pretty well getting full. You would say, here comes Boone out with the two umpires, and I think Rifle's one of the umpires. I'm seeing Oxenford, I think he's one of the other ones. They're coming out in the national anthem. The flags are out. The players will be out very shortly. The route looks all ready to go. You can see the bowling coach there. Joe Root would probably be wearing pads, I would imagine. So live watch on. Yeah, I'm watching now as I'm talking, watching the announcements now. The ground announcer's making the announcements. He's calling out, I'm sure, the players. Pretty ordinary tie this guy's got. It doesn't really suit. It looks very. Here comes the England side out, led by Joe Root, and then to Ben Stokes, and that. I'm assuming Ben Stokes as well as captain. Of course he is. Pat Cummins leads out the Australian side, and he looks decidedly nervous. Joe Root, having done this many times, is not flustered at all. Steve Smith there is number 2. He's left a bit of a gap for the rest of them. Labuschagne having a bit of a chatter. Warner's there. He's having a bit of a talk. Marcus Harris. You got huge Cameron Green. And you got Carey, Travis Head. England opens with their pads on. Both Milano, in fact, the 3 batters, they've got their pads on. It doesn't look like Root has got his pads on. No, Root has not got his pads on. So Hamid and Milano got pads on with Rory Burns. Interesting. I would have liked the 2 opening batsmen to be standing right next to each other, but they're not. That's all right. Milan's the next to Hamid. I think they're good backs. So here we are setting up for the national anthems with some 6 minutes to go. Very resounding. Alex Carey has got his keeping gloves on already, or his inners on. A lady called Deborah Sandy, who's giving what they call a welcome to country. She'll be honouring the local tribes, mobs, and Basu Dada, how are you? So that lady will be there providing that sense of history, with Aboriginal history, of course, very strong, especially in a place like Queensland. The crowd is about, I'd say, 60%, maybe 50 to 60% at the moment. Ben Stokes obviously hasn't played cricket for some time. He's had a mental set of issues brought on by the passing of his father. But he's here. The black armband had been worn there because of the lady who played for England back in 1937, who was 110 years of age. Amazing. You know, the crowd's building. It's more. It would be probably 20,000 there now. 40,000 being roughly the full capacity. They haven't got. They usually have a beach scenario. The beach scenario doesn't seem to be there this year, or at least not yet. Did you ever visit gangland of India, Uttar Pradesh, Bundeskanal? Yes, I have. So here we have the national anthem being sung by Shelley Davies, England's national anthem performer. Shelley Davies, dressed in white. England are well and truly into their song. Rory Burns with a form of headband there, the bluish headband. The arm guards are very, very big. Ollie Robinson will be held back for the moment, but of course he, Wood, Wokes, Leach. But the battle commenced. Messages, Munchie. Well, Munchie, you should be on there. I'll tell you what now, you got your nose in front having won the toss and batting. It's up to them to do something now and not lose wickets early, get 50 or 60 runs. Now we've got a young lady here, with a darker complexion, coming on to sing this right now. She's dressed in black, whereas the England lady was dressed in white. Let's see what this looks. Australia. Alicia Todd, Australian national anthem. Alicia Todd is doing it. And the Australians are in Mitchell Stark. Was very rough in the facial hair department. Yeah. Looking down the Australian lineup there, I just don't think. I feel for Pat Cummins. I really think the pressure's almighty on him at the moment. He will be turning his head. His head will be turning left or something. What do you think, Steve? What do you think, Steve? What do you think, Steve? And where will Pat Cummins field? Is he going to be at a mid-off or somewhere in the cordon? Let's see. Here he is. He's getting ready to go on the field. Let's see how much of a command he has of the first so-called scrum. The anthems are gone. The game's about to start. We're within 3 minutes of a start. Hazelwood's warming up. Stark will be the other one to open the bowling. It'll be Stark and Hazelwood, which is expected. Cummins to be the first change, followed by Green, and then at some stage Lyon. And you've got Alex Carey patting Cummins in the back. Everyone's patting Cummins in the back. Okay, I'm patting everybody on the back, I hope. Yeah, but still. Let's just see where Pat Cummins feels for this. This will tell me a lot. Where Pat, let's see how much the attack. There's a bit of pointing going on by Cummins. He is trying to assert himself early. Bit of talk, which is a good sign, I think. Cummins says, right, I'm captain, that's it. I'll call on you, Smith, when I need you. That's what I'd be saying. Cummins looks fairly confident, but it's extremely early days to be showing what level of confidence, especially when errors start to occur and when there's an indecision about who bowls when and one bowler's not bowling. It'll be interesting to see what actually takes place. So Gilchrist, Warren and Mark Waugh are the commentators at this point on the Fox feed. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what takes place. I won't be on for that long, guys. I think I'll come back during the day more. Although the first few hours, Alex Carey gets his chance to keep. There's a lot of pressure on these guys, Phil. And they've lost the toss and are out in the field. So they're in the firing line immediately. Hamid's come out. He looks very fidgety, the poor guy. Rory Burns, a lot more assured. Hamid's worried me from the start. I haven't really had great confidence. I would have preferred to have seen Zach Crawley out there. But anyway, here they come. Rory Burns is certainly asserting himself as the lead batter, I'd say. Yeah, Hamid's an interesting one for me. Is he going to be who we think he is? Interesting. Very interesting. So Rory Burns is 31 years of age. He's played 30 test matches for England. 1,712 runs. He scored 300 at a batting average of only 32, which is not great batting average at all. Mitchell Starc will be the one to open the bowling, and you would expect so. It's a bit of a Harmison moment here. If he gets these wayward, Mitchell Starc's also 31, so Rory Burns and Mitchell Starc are the same age, but Mitchell Starc has played more test matches than 62. And with Jai Richardson on his heels and a fair bit of talk from even the likes of Warne about Starc, we'll see what happens. They've got 3 slips in a gully and a point, a mid-off and mid-on, and a forward square leg and a fine leg. 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So fairly standard field. They've got a mid on mid off immediately. They haven't gone on the almighty attack. They've got about a second slip and they've already got what you would argue is that's rather. They've got 3 men in front of the wicket there and a point. Here we go. Alex Carey about to face his first ace. Kevin Starc comes in the bowl. And oh my God, he got the first ball, he's got a wicket. Rory Burns has been bowled around his legs. Ball swung in, and Rory Burns has been clean bowled first ball. Oh boy. That's not the start that England would have liked. Mitchell Starc's perfect storm has occurred. First ball swung, it was on leg stump and swung well outside. It came in. Rory Burns was exposed, his leg stump was bowled comprehensively. It's a bit of a shocking start there for Rory Burns. This is not the starting I would have liked to have had. Oh, it sets the tone of the series already. Is it a no ball? No, it's not. His foot seems to be fine. And let's see how much swing he gets. Yeah, there's a fair bit of swing. And Rory Burns fully expected to be going down leg side, but it came in sufficiently and clipped the leg stump. Or actually knocked over the leg stump. Rory Burns, golden duck, bowled Starc. What a start. Amazing start. Cummins would be cock-a-hoop about that. That's what he would like. After losing the toss, David Milano, who certainly is a capable batsman, have to prove where he's in their second ball. Hamid went out to open, but Milan faces the ball before Hamid does. Another left-hander. He's had 18 test matches, 830 runs, 1 century, batting average of 28. It's not the greatest, but he's actually 34 years of age. But he's very capable. Very much almost Alistair Cook-like, I would argue. So we'll just see whether this is going to... Oh, my God. This is the start that I don't think... and Stark looks very pumped. That's the way to start a match. First ball bowled. Stark looks very angry, very determined. Well, Milan's just happily pushed at it. It's gone through the slips on the ground for 4. Second ball. And that's the problem with Stark. He can bowl a magnificent ball and get a wicket like he did. And the next ball get hit for 4. So that's the way it starts. So there you go. Played on the ground. So it was played off the face of the back. Star comes in for the third delivery. It's getting a fair bit of latish swing. But Milan just plays as late as he possibly can. First ball swung. And Rory Burns horribly exposed his leg stump. No, and with that $29 million membership, which they just do with me, like a whole lot, Robert. Well, you'll get plenty of opportunities to do things. We're going to have a lot of dinners in the future, lunches. Whereabouts are you located, Robert? You tell me where that is. Again, Milan's just padded it through a gap between gully and point. And looks like he's gotten to. He looks quite assured. He's batting with a very late bat on the ball. So despite having taken a wicket, he's on 6 runs in the opening over, which is a lot. Sorry, everyone, that's a bit of a disturbance. So that was the 5th ball there, played nicely over Milan. Milan's in total control here. He's already scored 6 runs on the first over. Hamid hasn't faced the ball. Stark's first ball was a gem. The rest have been pretty good, but they've been going away to the boundary. So, yeah. The first ball came in nicely. Rory Burns was completely exposed to his legs. Maybe they worked on that weakness. I'm pretty sure they would have actually had a good look at that weakness and been aware of it, I would say. Great start for Australia. So Milan's very used to Australian conditions, so he's not perturbed by this. So the first over was not bad. He got a wicket first ball, which is always massive. 6 runs have come from it, though. So there you go. Certainly there's a lot to be seen here with Stark getting a fair degree of applause there, understandably. He's just taken the wicket in the first over. Stark's a year younger than me, is he? Well, oh, there you go. So Milan's on 6. Hamid hasn't faced the ball. Rory Burns was bowled by Stark first ball. Not his ideal start to a test series. Here goes the Metrodome Hazelwood, very much Glenn McGrath-like in his bowling. He's played 56 test matches for 212 wickets. Best 6 for 67, so he's a capable bowler, we know that. Has bowled very well in the IPL and the World Cup. Comes with a good form. This is a test match, though, different conditions. A bit of bounce, a bit of carry, and Hamid's getting used to that very quickly, having to let the ball go. Watch having to show a bit of movement that shows that he's getting used to the bounce there. Mitchell Stark, good on him. He did bowl. He still was hit around a bit, but not with great attacking shots, though. Hazel was coming in with his metronome line length, and he's just beaten Hamid neck and crop there. Very nervous looking as Hamid. He's lost his batting opening partner. He wouldn't want another wicket falling quickly because Root would be in extremely early. And Root, even though he's a great batter, won't appreciate that. That ball kept a little bit low. Well, Hamid's got some bat on ball, which is a good sign for the third delivery. Tended it away. Yes, so people are glued to the TV. You're glued to a YouTube channel, but that's good. I'm not sure whether you guys can actually get any vision. We'll see how that goes. Josh Hazlewood's played some 13 Ashes matches. He's taken some 57 test wickets in those Ashes series. That's pretty good. That means just dabbed it away on the onside, a ball which was fairly easy to pot away. It's got off the mark. So good stuff from both these two so far. If England don't lose another wicket, they'll recover okay. They can't afford losing more wickets. Hamid's test career, 7 matches for 360. He's actually forwards for 450s, no centuries. He's 24 years of age. He's very, very young. I will come back later today from another spot, which will be not here. So Milan's got strike against Hazelwood. Milan looks very assured out there. Very, very, very assured indeed. It's very, very assured. Early days yet.
Yeah, he's coming in afternoon. But
Sorry, guys. I just had to go. I had to go on mute there. So the situation is that the game is a magnificent ball from Rory Burns. It was quite outstanding, actually. Mitchell Stark, of course, is has bowled a very good first delivery, and he bowled okay after that, but didn't exactly take many runs. So it was a very impressive start for them. But Milan's been very, very calm and cool-headed out there. Very impressive player, a fair degree of experience. Mitchell Stark's coming in for his second over now, and we'll see what happens here. We'll see whether we can continue on from that performance. Hamid's playing him very carefully, letting the ball go. Well done. So Mitchell Stark's first ball couldn't have been any better. It was a great first delivery. Mitchell Starc comes in the bowl. This is his second delivery of his second over, after having a first ball, which was a bowler. Hammy got a rather full ball and has played away quite nicely. Rory Burns' first shot was just ordinary, to say the least. Amazing delivery, actually. The ball really did come in very well indeed. Rory Burns was quite not good to get our first ball of innings. Yeah, despite that delivery, Mitchell Starc has been a little bit wayward this over, not troubling Hamid at all. Chris Vernon's crying, as he should, and he's obviously watching the match. England squad there watching on. I'm sure Rory Burns is hiding somewhere after getting out first ball. I mean, he's just played the ball beautifully. He's lent on that, and he's clopped him for four. So this is the danger with Starc. Starc loses his rhythm, or he got great early success with that first ball. It's magnificent, but his line's questionable. He's already been Starc's 1 for 10 after under 2 overs. He's certainly looks like Hamid's quite confident. Drove very nicely. Just lent on it. It was there to be hit. Ooh, very late leads by Hamid, but he played it well. If these two can recover and have a situation where they play well in the innings, they'll be pretty good. Well bowled. But Hamid played it well. He was into the shot and pulled out. And he can let the ball go on the stumps because the ball's going to bounce out, and that's what it just did then. Indeed. Who's the 14 under the helmet for Australia, that head? It would have to be probably is Travis Head, I'd say. Queensland Taroom near Roma. Is that where you're from, Robert? It's going to be interesting how this pans out. So, yeah, we know Rory Burns got our first ball for a golden duck off Starc. Root's coming in next with Stokes. There's some certainty in their batting order there, right there. Pope. Oh, I just don't know. I would prefer to have BSO in there, to be honest, but that's just me. Hazelwood comes into Milan. Yeah, the ball was pitched on leg stump and didn't go. It kept its line, actually. And it fully looked like it was going to go, it was going to miss the leg stump, but it didn't. There was a plan there for sure. There was definitely a plan. Oh my God, Hazelwood's just taken the wicket of Milan, caught behind by Carey. Carey's first test wicket catch. Hazelwood's got his wicket, and we've lost Milan now for 6. England are 2 for 11, and this is not the start they would have wanted. The ball was right on line there, just outside off stump, and Milan had no real need to play for it, again, to play the shot. Let's have a look in the replay. He's nowhere near a no ball. He's fine with a no ball. Let's have a look at this ball. Come through, but he got a bit. Oh yeah, just looked at him. It wasn't easy. Really consummate take by Carey. Milan is gone. So Joe Root comes out, having scored 9,278 runs, 23 centuries, batting average of 50, best 254, 110 matches. His age is 30. This is where it gets pretty damn crucial. And Haley's stomping ground. It will actually, is Haley from Roma, is he? Okay. Pat Cummins will be pretty happy with these two opening bowlers having taken them. It takes a lot of pressure off him as a captain. They bowled well, and that's really, really good. So crucial to see how Root goes. And you're going to be Ben Stokes is coming in next. It would not have expected to be half the 3 overs. Into the 4th. How am I at predicting Norman? You're doing a good job. You've done very well with your decision. Healy's from Billawheeler. I knew that, which is 3 hours away. I know Billawheeler. I actually lived in Robert Malloy. Lived in Brisbane for a while, and did a lot of work in Billawheeler and Roma, and did a lot of country talks at CRT at the stores. A good ball, but he didn't have to play it. A healthy edge. Yeah, 2 for 11 is not the start that England would have liked after having won the toss. And Carey's taken a very good catch. Well, regulation, but you have to take them. It's their first ever test match catch. He'd be pretty stoked about it. He's got himself on the board. Yeah, there's a bit of movement there away. Not a great. Yeah, well, they're showing there's more movement than what did happen. Bit of a disappointment. The batting so far of England. Not what they would have liked. We're at 110 matches for his country. Oops. Roots let it hit him on the pad. It's gone nowhere. Now, the Indian viewers, it's now 11, almost, let's say 11:30 here in Australia. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning in India, so they'd be barely up. 4 overs gone, 2 for 11. Both bowlers have taken wickets. Well, it certainly has been Australia's day so far. Cummins is bringing himself into the attack for the 5th over. Interesting. He's 28 years of age, he's played 35 test matches, 164 wickets, an average 21, economy rate 6 for 23 is his best. So Cummins is setting the field a little bit, moving the scoreboard now. Cummins coming in to bowl the 5th over, so he's bringing himself in rather early. Captain of Australia bowling. Ooh, a bit. Okay, Hamid has been rather sound. Cummins coming in for his first over here, which is the 5th over. So Stark and Hazelwood bowled 2 wickets each, and then brought in Cummins. I'd say it's a little bit early. But when there's 2 wickets down, he wants a piece of the action, obviously. He's captain, he can make the decision, so he's brought himself on the 5th over. And 25 minutes into the match, we're into the 5th over. I mean, he's looking relatively assured. His job is to stick with Root now until lunch. The way Smith and Warner are acting is as if they're vice captain and captain to me. I'm sorry. And that's not what Australia wanted, I don't think. Milan sitting there. Broad's there as well. I mean, it's pretty compact. Cummins is bowling a steady yet unremarkable over. Well, UK has just gone past midnight. South Africa is 3 a.m. When it's 12 p.m. there, America 7 p.m. and on East Coast as well. Thank you, Rod. Not sure that really is needed. India's the audience watch also was coming on deck. It's almost 6 a.m. there. Very sound batting from Hamid. Cummins is just there or thereabouts. Crowd's reasonable. It's typical GABBA. They don't get packed early on. They should for an Ashes match. I'm sorry, they should. It's a little bit disappointing not to see a better crowd there for this match. So Stokes is the one that coming in next. I agree with your SM. I'm not sure what SM is, Robert. There's some people looks like they're outside trying to get in. Is that right? Alice Carey very happily has made the first ball from swung, but I do not know what Rory Burns was doing. Very, very early stages. All right, considering the time of day, we might be, we'll probably go off it at some stage. What's another over from Hazel? He's getting some good long length. Joe Root's awfully steady at the moment. Not doing anything too flash. Gilchrist is separate to Warren and Mark Orr. Does that mean that Adam Gilchrist, well, he's there, Yeah, 2 for 11. It's going to be a very, very dour period. If they can, the key to England now is to not lose any more wickets before lunch and try to ink out a 50 or 60 run score, and then they can say that they've brought the game a bit more into play. I agree with you. Smith didn't deserve vice captaincy. It should have been Marnus, or it should have been, well, I was going to say it was been Khawaja, but he's not going to say. Ooh. I don't think Steve Smith or Dave Warner should be anywhere near captaincy or vice captaincy. They should not be controlling side. Pat Cummins is the captain, should be the captain, and they should be far removed. They should have someone. It's hard to say who they should have the vice captain. I'm afraid there isn't much there really to pick from, but Usman Khawaja would have made a difference. Certainly, Sim Payne should still be captain, for at least in another series, so another person could emerge. A lot of dot balls going on at the moment from Roots. Had almost got 8 deliveries without scoring on. He hasn't gotten ready for this properly. His ball's nice length. He certainly came back and beat him. Oops, he's out. Oh my God, a fuller ball. Root played very late and has got himself the edge and has gone to first slip to Dave Warner. And we have now got 3 for 11 with Joe Root out. Gilchrist commentating on Fox Sports with Warner and Ward. They carry the background. Okay. Well, Joe Root has lasted 9 balls for a duck. England are in an absolute mess here, actually. Good old, that wasn't a no ball. Oh, that wasn't a no ball. Let's see, it was a much fuller ball. And it made him play at it, and then it went to Dave Warner. Ben Stokes is out there in the 5th over, 3 for 11. Oh, this is ugly. This is ugly. I thought it was an advantage for England to be. But I did predict that England would lose the first test. I knew that would happen. That they'll come back and fight very hard. So, this is not going the way they should. 3 for 11 is awful. But a man like Ben Stokes, we know what he's like. We know what he's capable of. He'll have to do something rather miraculous, but he's done it before. England 3 for 11 after 5.5 overs. Stokes is in there with Hamid, who's been there from the beginning. Hazelwood's taken 2 for 1 off 2.5 overs. What an incredible start he did. Stark's first ball set the tone. Who got Root? Hazelwood. Caught by Warner at first slip of a much fuller ball. Things are not good, guys. England are 3 for 11. Stark took the first wicket. He took Rory Burns bowled on his leg stump. Then Milan fended at a ball outside off stump off Hazelwood, and Roots played forward to a ball that he didn't need to play, really. It was Fuller, attempted him, and he got a nick to Warner at first slip. Who got Root? As I just said, it was Hazelwood. He's got 2 for 1 off 3 overs. Amazing. A much fuller ball that took the wicket. Much, much fuller ball. Yeah, not what I was expecting that the situation to be. 3 for 11. It's Warner at first slip. Warner at first slip. He's there because Steve Smith wants him there. Oh boy. Not what I was hoping to see. For England's sake. The ball lifted sharply. I was going to wait for the first hour. This seems for a big fall. So, I mean, it's been relatively sound. Way it's going to be, I'd say, to be at the end of the day, we'll be betting. I think I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to agree with you there. Warner, Smith, Labuschagne seems to be the engine of the batting and the team. Remarkable. A little bit of aggression there from Cummins, rather wayward short ball. Not what I was expecting, guys. England having won the toss today, for those who are just joining, England won the toss and elected to bat, which would normally be a good decision, even the wickets moving around hooping. They get through this period, they would be on top of me to score a big score on day one, which is generally what Australia likes to do. I'm sure Australia would have batted first. So it didn't happen that way. And Stokes got a magnificent first ball to bowl Rory Burns around his legs. And Hazelwood's done the rest from there on. He started the ball, but very low length, and got Milan and Root to Nick to keeper in first slip. Hamid seems to be playing well away from the line. And we've got Cummins coming on for his last ball of his second over. Hamid's played the ball very nicely through the covers. And we'll get probably 2 for that. Hamid looks relatively assured there, in all fairness. So England are 3 for 13 now after 7 overs. Less than 2 runs an over. Hamid's not out 7. Stokes has only faced 1 ball. He's not out 0. Root, we're playing Burns' dismissal, awful positioning of his feet. Exposed legs, if he was ball seemed to go, it was a good ball though. It came in around his legs. And a very good ball from Hazelwood got Milan caught by the keeper. Ball that did move away a little bit. Yes, it did have a little away movement. And that was good. That was 2 down. And then the third wicket, a great over from Hazelwood. Short of length, and a fuller ball, and he nicked it to Warner at first slip. And a good catch. Saw them 3 down for 13. Ben Stokes looks like he wants to tee off there. Definitely, Hazelwood's been somewhat of a destroyer here. Oh boy.
Quarter past.
So we have a situation where 3 for 13, England into the 8th over now. Hazelwood's bowling sensationally well. He's got 2 wickets for 1 run. He has not taken a run off him. Quite incredible. Ben Stokes, who obviously is more aggressive. If they get him, then England are in deep trouble. So I think got Pope left, and then Butler's, somebody who you would certainly give a lot of credit to for his play. He can certainly, scrounge a few runs there, but then their batting really falls away. So you got fighters like Stokes and Butler. Hi, Thorin V. You're watching. This has been a disastrous start from England, losing 3 for 13 in the first 7 overs and then into the 8th now. With Ben Stokes there, significant mentally. They're needing now. Joe Root, surprisingly, didn't play at all well. And I saw Steve Smith motioning the field there off Hazelwood's bowling. Where is I haven't really ascertained where Cummins is. Is he in the slips or is he at fine leg? I hope he's not in the fine leg. And Stokes is walking out to the delivery. And Stokes has fallen off the mark. Falling over to do that, though. So you just wait, as the Indian audience starts to wake up, they're turning on the TV to see the score is 3 for 13, or 3 for 14 now. Stokes having got off the mark and Hamid on 7. Root was out, having faced 8 balls, caught the first step by Warner. Rory Burns was bowled comprehensively by Stark, first ball for Golden Duck. Not a bad toss to lose. Looks like that's the case. And then, of course, Milan couldn't help himself play the ball that Hazelwood bowled, was to move away. So 8 overs have gone, England are 3 for 15. And quite a significant situation indeed. Amazing start from England. With Burns out for a duck first ball, Golden Duck to bowl by Stark. Hamid got out 7. Milan caught Carey, the keeper, bowl Hazelwood for 6 of Carey's first catch as keeper. Out for 6 off 9 balls. Rip also faced 9 balls, but he was out for a duck. Caught Warner at first set off Hazelwood. The ball was slightly fuller and therefore hard. He played at it and he got the edge. Set up, you would argue. There is a bit of a Barmy army there, but there'd be a local Barmy army. England would be ruined not having a better field, a more aggressive chanting audience. Hamid's just clipped at the leg side, which was a dream delivery by Hazelwood. It was a lot fuller. That's true. Mark Howard's there. Yeah, it's a 3 for 16 into the 9th over. Haven't had the first hour's play yet. Hamid not out 8 off 24 deliveries, and Stokes faced roughly an over for 1 run. Cummins comes in again for his 3rd over. Stokes looks on top of things a little bit. The way that England are going, they're going to need someone like a Stokes or a Butler to stand up. And Hamid and Pope to bat around them, and they'll get to a reasonable score. We'll just see whether it's good enough score. Oh, ball is certainly bouncing a lot more than expected. Should England have won the toss and bowl first? I don't agree. It's Harris under the helmet, is it? Okay. Stokes is gaining some confidence. Sagar Saab thinks that Stokes will go early. We've gone early. We'll wait and see. Root was very disappointing. He looked out of sorts big time. He shouldn't have been batting there that early in the innings, to be honest with you. There is a bit of a balmy army, not a great one, but there's a bit of a balmy army going there. David Speak, where are you? So far it's been the Steve Smith show, I would argue, with the captaincy. Although I think Cummins has bowled himself a bit earlier than he expected to. Into the last ball of the ninth over here from Cummins. 3 for 16, no runs at all really on the board. With Lyon warming up, when do you bowl him if you're Cummins? I don't think they need to bowl him just yet. They could go a few more overs and get a bit more out of the, they could put Cameron Green on. It's way too early to bring the spinner in, I think. Especially when 3 wickets have fallen. Stokes is as cool as a cucumber at this point. So through England, Joe has only 50 plus average, and Stokes has around 37. The rest of them are less than they should be bowled after winning a toss on. I disagree because it is Australia, and you traditionally do that. But England took a leaf out of Australia's book, which wasn't a bad reason to do it, to be honest. We're going to be on for the whole series, pre and post and into the games a little bit. We'll have a lot of discussion. We'll have some very good audiences. And obviously, as the test grows on the next test, I will be at the test match physically. This one, we're unfortunately in quarantine. Well, not quarantine. If I'd gone to Brisbane, I would have been in quarantine for 2 weeks. Didn't want to do that. The quarantine stops on the Monday, the day after the test finishes. That's all right. Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, and ultimately Hobart, let's say I'll be able to go to all of them, so that's not a problem. Why did England bat first? It's traditional Sagar sub for a batting side to win the toss, put them on the bat on the wicket like this. Even though it's difficult early on, if they get through that, they can go on and score a big score, but they haven't gotten through it. They lost 3 wickets. No Archer here, so Archer would have made a bloody big difference. And Mark Wood will too. Mark Wood is in the side. Chris Wokes is a very good exponent, but so is Robinson. They've got some good bowlers. Well, Hamid's decided to go for it, and he's cleaned up. And that was a clever shot because there was no one back at third man to give it the full blade of the bat, and off it goes. And he decided off a very wide Stark. So referee Stark's back on after giving Cummins a bit of a stint. Cummins, despite having taken the first wicket beautifully, that first one was magnificent. He's been very wayward after it, and under Kishore Corral. England bat, as I said to you. And Hamid had every reason to go for it. There was a massive gap there. He knew that. I like Carey. Seems to be pretty competent. He can't not come out. He's survived the first hour and he's starting to reap the benefits now. Wait a second, guys. Back. Sorry about that. I had a momentary thing I had to deal with. All sorted now. Me looking pretty competent now at 3 for 20. Good morning from Nunda. Good morning from Chennai. the Indian audience is starting to wake up. You've missed a great start. 3 for 20. Hang on, 3 wickets for 20. Rory Burns had a magnificent ball in his leg stump, bowled by Sark. But Sark's been a bit wayward since. Hazelwood come on, magnificent 2 wickets. He took the wicket of a good ball from Milan that just popped, went past his offside, went to the keeper Carey. And then Hazelwood worked Root out, bowling some good short of length deliveries. Then one fuller Root came out to a little bit, nicked it to first slip to Warner, and he was out for a duck after 9 deliveries. 3 for 13, I think they were at that stage. Now they crawled to 3 for 20, with Hamid looking reasonably sound on 12, and Stokes very circumspect on 1 off 11 balls. So that's the story where we're at the moment. We've 10 overs gone for 3 for 20. It's still very early to judge what's actually happening here. Okay, so we've gone the first hour here, guys. Well, getting close. We're still at 8 minutes to the hour, 52 minutes actually. Cummins has come back on, bowling himself very early, probably because the early wickets fell. Stokes did expose the leg stump a little bit, and Stark took advantage of that off Rory Burns. Cummins is into his 4th over. 4 overs out of the 11 bowl. He's starting to give himself a fair bit of responsibility, isn't he? Very impressive start from Australia. Setting the tone with Stark with the first ball where it actually bowled Burns. That was a pretty heavy start. Ooh. Roll left because it went all over the stumps. The ball was relatively full, but it went high enough over the stumps, which is a remarkable situation. It was relatively full. Still had enough on it to go over the stumps. Well left by Ben Stokes, to be honest with you. He has had experience here in Australia. He has a fair understanding of what to do. Oh, that was a good drive, but well fielded there by who was 62? Was it Travis Head? Yeah, that's what Travis Head. A lot of viewing going on here, guys. A lot of viewing. If it was me in Cummins' shoes, I would have kept Stark on till after lunch with Hazel. Yeah, but Hazel would obviously Cummins wants to give himself a go. He hasn't bowled badly, although he hasn't bowled remarkably. The other two took the wickets, certainly. Cummins bowling at 11th over. Been very steady, but hasn't taken a wicket. So mid on, mid off, mid wicket. Relatively defensive field, really, considering the way the wickets are gone. Stokes is very much aware of what to do and is doing it well. Very well indeed. That's been very, very impressive. 3 for 20. But Hamid has lasted the first hour here. Cummins looks tired. He's probably bowled 4 overs for 3 runs, which is incredibly tight. I wouldn't overdo himself. Stark's back on for his 4th, having taken 1 for 14. Hamid got a ball on leg stump there and has just clipped it away and taken it off. So Hamid looks very, very solid. I'll give him that much. He's batted. If only Rory Burns had stuck with Hamid, they would have lost a wicket. That's where they've exposed the likes of Root and Milan early, which they shouldn't have to do. And he's brushed up from his hip. It's almost as if he knew what he was doing. Three for 24 into the 12th over. Ooh, very late decision to let it go, but it was a good decision. Hamid's been very awkward, but he's survived. Very awkward, but he's survived. Okay. Rory Burns, first ball. Oh, beginner's luck. No, it was actually a poor positioning of his feet. He was bowling around his legs. It shouldn't have been. Thought we would get 100 today. Well, the Root lasted 9 deliveries and got out for a duck. Hazelwood on his off stump. Short of leg, then a fuller ball, Nick. Good ball from Stoke. Well, there we have it, 1,000. It's gone 1,000. And the hour. We've had 1,000 people watching the last hour. Pretty impressive, guys. Ooh. Stark's too good for Hamid at the moment. But Hamid, you would argue, is still cleverly getting out of the way of it. He's surviving. I guess that's why he's an opening bat. So England again, for those that are viewing for the first time today, the time now being 6:30 a.m. in the morning. England are 3 for 24, with Stokes 1 run off 17 balls, very unusual. Hamid 12 of 34. James Rain. I'm going to watch James Rain. He's a singer at the Enmore Theatre here in Sydney. A week's time has been invited. So 3 for 24. Stokes, 1 run off 17 balls. Hamid 12 of 35. We lost. Rory Burns, first ball off Stokes, bowled on his leg stump. Milan looked quite competent. They got a good ball from Hazelwood and just touched it through to the keeper, Carey. And it was well worked out by Hazelwood. And in turn, he got no runs off 9 balls. Quite a distinctive situation there. So the first hour's play looks like it's up. Are they going to go for a drinks break now? Yeah, the drinks break is now called. England are 3 for 24 after that first hour. What do you do if you're England now? I'll just keep batting, scratching around, trying to lose any more wickets, and then go into the second and third session to build up a total. Hopefully, 200, maybe a total of 250 would be what I'd like to see. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether that's possible. I might go back and for a minute. Let's have a look here. So that's the score, 3 for 24. Impressive first hour from Australia, 3 for 24. Could easily have been a time when no wicket fell. If Rory Burns would have survived, he could have scratched on like Cummins, and there would have been none for. But it hasn't worked out that way, unfortunately. England very happy. Sorry, Australia very happy after their first hour's play, without a doubt. Alex Carey taking his first catch. Mitchell Stark taking the first wicket on the first ball. All pretty impressive. Yeah, the Maladas missile, maybe you could let that go. C versus Virat could be Joe Root. Okay. Ahmed looks a lot more comfortable now. Cameron Green has yet to bowl. Lyon has yet to bowl. They've only used a combination of Stark, Hazelwood and Cummins in the first hour. Three for 24 with Stokes on 1 off 17, amid 12 off 36. 12 overs completed the first hour's play. Fairly sound start. With Ben Stokes there, I feel a little bit comfortable. And Hamid opened the batting, and he's still there. So you've got to take your help to him. Joe Root came in too early, let's say, and looked very unlike Joe Root. And Stokes, we know what he can do. We know what he's capable of doing. And with Butler, they've got a chance with those two coming out at a later stage. Got to get through the next hour now. Play hour by hour, as we know. So it's Cummins coming in for his 5th over. He's certainly bowling himself out, isn't he? Hopefully he doesn't overbowl himself as captain. Doesn't need to. He probably wants to get a wicket as captain. He wants to put the juggler in. Well, that's not a bad idea. Crowd's not there. It's only about half capacity at this point. And Stokes likes the length of that ball. I think it's going to get easier and easier to battle. Okay, so even now, it's proved that both Clouderson and Broad are home track bullies. They need the Naturals' help to get the wickets. They will work like, well, yeah, but those two blokes are not playing today. No, but they'll be around for the second, third, and fourth test, and yet ultimately, I think perhaps the fifth. I'm pretty sure you see Broad Anderson play the second, and maybe the third, and maybe have a break on the fourth. Ben Stokes is starting to free his arms. He batted for that first hour. Now he's decided he's going to be a bit freer. And Cummins is probably bowling a bit too much of himself in the first period of time, I would have to argue. It's a good shot. It's a full ball. And he played it quite well. Yeah, Ben Stokes, what a player. Three for 28 into the 13th over here are England. Not an ideal situation at all. Not an ideal situation at all, but you can recover. We'll have to start to do that now. We'll have more of these ball by ball discussions. I think it's went very well, actually. I'm pretty happy with the way it's went. It was a short ball, Cummins. He's fifth over here. Probably allowing a little bit too much as a captain, I would argue. Will England be all out today? Well, you'd think they are going to have to struggle surviving today, but if these two can stay in until lunch, yeah, that could be a change. Stokes is kind of struggling out there. But he's measured. Both these guys are measured. They had 3 wickets fall around them. They're measured in what they're doing. The crowd's there, but not. It's probably about 65% now, I'd say. Oh my God. I spoke too early, didn't we? Pat Cummins has taken himself his first wicket as captain. They're now 4 for 29. We have Stokes is out, caught at what looked like third slip. 4 for 29. The ball's a legal delivery. Good delivery. Labuschagne's taken that. A third slip. Stokes out for 5. They're 4 for 29. Now they're in some serious trouble. Pope come in, and he's not noted for his batting at this stage, and he will not be happy with these conditions. This is an awful, awful situation to be in. England are 4 for 29. Pope comes in, and into the 13th over, they lost 4 wickets. Big test for Pope coming at 4 down. There's only got Butler after him, and then you've got a fairly long tail of Robinson, Wood, Stokes, and Leach. All right, guys. We're going to return later in the day. I've got. I'm only saying for a short period of time. England right now need a player like Pujara right now. They certainly do. Absolutely do. I hope you've enjoyed this first hour or so of play. I'll be coming back later at the close of play, and tomorrow I'll probably stay longer for the session. But it's been a fantastic first hour and a bit in play. Very thankful for you guys to be a part of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I know he was struggling. So 4 for 29. Everything's gone perfectly well for Cummins. England, again, chose to bat. Won the toss and chose to bat. Pope's come in to join Hamid. Hamid is still there into the 13th over. Give Cummins into this over to see how he fares. And Pope's decided to go for a single immediately. Clever way to get the ball rolling. And so all the best to you guys. We'll talk later. I'll come back later on this afternoon for the post from the early part of the last session through the preview, post review of the day. So all the best, guys. Thanks for joining me. See you later this afternoon.